Hey, what's going on? Today I want to talk about confidence baits. The baits that we all have confidence in to catch fish no matter where we go or what body of water we're fishing on. I'm heading to Florida in about 4 days and I'm flying, so I'm limited on the amount of equipment and stuff I can bring. So I want to make sure that when I bring some baits, I bring baits that I know are going to catch fish, that I have confidence that will catch the fish. So what I'm going to do is just go over a few of my baits and just kind of, show you what I have confidence in myself. And these baits that I'm going to talk about, if you'll notice, they're going to cover every aspect of the water column from the top to the bottom, which is important because fish do move, and they do either sit up near the top, or they might suspend anywhere from the top to the bottom, or they might sit on the bottom, and you got to use bottom baits to try and get the hook up. So I'm going to start off at the top. The first one I want to talk about is the torpedo. This particular one is by Heddon. It comes in I don't know, 5-6 colors. This is actually the medium size. They come in a smaller one and they come in jumbo. I carry 4 or 5 different colors of these in this size here and a couple of jumbos. I just generally throw this out on top. I let it sit there and then I give it little twitches so that this little prop in the back here kind of flutters. And then it gets the fish's attention, and when they sit there underneath this bait, after it sits there for a few seconds and I give it another couple twitches, that's when they come up and snag it right off the top. There's nothing like a top water bite. Things are freaking awesome. I mean, everybody that's fished that knows the top water is just like the most amazing bite that you can possibly witness. The next bait I want to talk about is is the Horny Toad by Zoom. Now, these things here, you can rig these in a couple different ways, and you can see the legs here have a little fluttering action to them. I always rig mine weightless. I use usually a 4/0 hook, or you can use a screw lock hook to screw in the front. Works pretty much the same way. The reason I work it weightless is that way it swims right underneath the surface of the water. These little legs flutter in the back. Sometimes I'll bring it up to the surface every once in a great while just so that these legs can disturb the top of the surface. These are great to work weedless because you can throw them right into the lily pads and swim them right underneath the lily pads if those fish are hanging out in there or in different kinds of weeds. Next bait I'm going to talk about, which is very versatile for covering all aspects of the water column, is a chatterbait. This can be fished, depending on the size that you get, the weight, from the top to the bottom. And you can put all kinds of trailers on these. Most of the trailers I use these curly tail jigs here, or curly tail grubs, sorry. I carry the grubs in a whole variety of colors because I have a different variety of colors of chatterbaits, and I try to match the color with the color of the jig. But you can use swim bait trailers, you can use crayfish trailers. Once in a while I use some of the Zoom Super Fluke trailers on here. Works really well. The other thing I actually like to do with this bait, if I get like the 3/8 or 1/2 ounce size, I'll use a darker color like the greens and browns or the blacks and purples, and I'll almost do it like a jig. I'll toss it out, let it sink to the bottom, and then I'll hop it off the bottom so that this little blade here flutters and creates that vibration in the water, and then let it sink back down, and just keep doing that probably most of the way back to the boat, and then I'll swim it back the rest of the way. But that's another way to use these, just kind of like a jig with a blade on it. The next bait I want to talk about, which I really love, this is a suspending shad rat by Rapala. These things come in a wide variety of colors. Great. It doesn't matter, depending on the color you get, you could use it in dirty water or clear. I've watched this in action in really clear water before. When you jerk these things and then you stop it, it actually sits there in the water column. It's like it stares the fish in the face without even moving. And that's obviously in calm water. Now if you got water that's moving, or if you have current or whatever, the bait will obviously actually move. It could turn, or it could go up or down. But when you have calm waters and you do not have a current and it sits there, it'll just sit there in that water column until you jerk it again. And usually if they're sitting there, and I've watched the fish sit there and watch it as it sits there in the water column, and then as you jerk it, that's when they decide to come up and snag it, when it does that movement. Because it's like it's fleeing away from the bass, and that's exactly what they want to see. The next bait I'm going to talk about, which is very versatile, can cover every aspect of the water column from top to bottom, are swim baits. Swim baits, there are so many companies now that put swim baits out and stuff. This one here, one of the ones I use, it's also by Zoom, and then you notice it's got the paddle tail on it, and you can either rig these weightless, or you can use a weight on it. Now, they make hooks, the screw lock hooks, that actually have weight on them. You usually can get them like in 1/16 ounce up to maybe, I think, a 3/8 or whatever. But I don't usually do that. What I usually do is go out and buy these packs. Bass Pro carries these. They're hook weights, and what you can do is you can actually just clamp them right onto the hook. And depending on where you want to swim this in the water column is the amount of weight that you use. These things coming from 1/16 ounce all the way up to an ounce. As you can see, I think this is this might be maybe a 1/4 ounce. All it does is get down a couple feet in the water column. It's great, especially if you got weeds that are growing up off the bottom of the water, and fish like to hang out in those little pockets and stuff in the weeds, and this just comes right through, especially when you do it weedless and stuff like that. Thing is just, well, swim baits have been phenomenal for the last few years and stuff, and they come in so many different colors, and so many companies make these and stuff, come in different sizes, anywhere from 4 probably up to, I think it's up to 8 inches. I want to give these a whirl. I'm sure a lot of people probably already do. Next bait I want to talk about is the jig. Jig might not catch a lot of fish, but it's going to catch some big ones. These come also in a wide variety of colors, weight sizes, and styles. You got football jigs, you got flathead jigs. Most of them are pretty weedless because it's got the weed guard here on top. But you do still have to be careful when you are fishing them in heavy cover. As you can see, I have this particular trailer on here, just a creature bait. But you can try all different kinds of trailers on these jigs. Try to use a trailer that kind of matches the color of your jig, so that you can, depending on the forage that you're trying to imitate for the fish to take. And usually you can either, hop these off the bottom, or you can just slide them along the bottom, and usually that way you can tell what kind of a bottom surface that you do have, whether if you have rocks or maybe if it's muddy or sooty. The last bait I want to talk about real quick, which I'm sure a lot of people use, and there's actually a few companies that have imitated these, is the Senkos by Gary Yamamoto. He has got a lot of different colors of these, and I know some of them are more popular than others, and some colors, they might not even work at all. But he does offer a wide variety of colors, and there's a wide variety of ways to rig this thing. Whether you're doing a wacky rig, Texas rig, you can do it weightless or with weight. You can actually put them on a jig head. If you're doing, if you get the right size, this is a 5-inch, but you can, get smaller ones, or you can just cut them down, and you can actually use them for drop shot as well. Works well, works great, works wonders. Well, those are a few of the confidence baits that I have, that I always bring with me, that I know that will always catch fish. If you got a favorite bait or a confidence bait, leave a comment down below. Let me know what it is. Everybody's baits are always different. I got another video coming up regarding my Florida trip, because I do salt water as well, and regarding shark fishing. Stay tuned, and I'll see you again soon.